There are so many reasons why many people avoid changes. By the way, if you don't know, change is very difficult, doesn't come natural for all of us. People try to fight change, and the question is, why is it that people try to refuse changes? Niccolo Machiavelli once said that there's nothing more difficult than to take in hand, more perilous or dangerous if you ask to conduct, or more certain in its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. Most people resist change. This is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say inawezekana. If this is your first time being here, we encourage you to hit the subscribe button so that every time when a video is uploaded, YouTube will be able to notify you. We continue learning on change, why people refuse to change. Last week we talked about what it means or what the Bible says about change. But one of the things that we said, which is very, very important, is that God never changes. If you think he changes, God is never in the mood of changing. Other people can change, but not God. And so that is very, very important. So today, I would wish us to continue to ask ourselves 10 reasons. Actually, the topic of this lesson should be 10 reasons why people refuse to change. Okay? 10 reasons why, because that is very important. 10 reasons why people refuse to change. Okay, please write it that way. 10 reasons, and the last reason is very, very important. Okay, remember, this is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say inawezekana. If this is your first time in here, we encourage you to hit the subscribe button. This particular broadcast has been sponsored by Freshworld Computers. If you're looking for a gadget, a computer, a laptop, a high-end phone, all your computer has broken down, you are looking for services of installation, CCTV installation, live streaming gadget, look no further. Talk to Freshworld Computers. They are located along Tom Boyer Street, on Dominion House, opposite Imenti House. Talk to them on 0722 399 091. Freshworld, we've got you. So let's continue with our discussion today on 10 reasons why people refuse change. 10 reasons why people refuse change. And the last one is so important that I would wish that you don't miss it. 10 reasons why people refuse to change. Okay, now we are saying every phase of life comes with the changes, and it is very important for readers to understand that changes does not come easily, because once you gain the reasons why people refuse to change, then it will give you an understanding. It will give you an understanding on how to introduce change effectively as a leader. Because as a leader, it will give you, when you are aware why people refuse change, then it will give you not only direction and readiness to move forward, but again, it's also a mark of wisdom. So without much ado, let's share those 10 reasons why people refuse change, so that you can be equipped to handle those challenges when they show up in your leadership journey. Now, reason number one why people refuse change is because of what we call brain game. Now, when a CEO tries to implement change, one of the things that he will experience or she will experience is what we call a rebellion. And those people who are rejecting change will heap a lot of blame. They will heap blame on the management, and the employees will also trade blame game. They will say, we do not want to do it. Or maybe they will say the reason why these changes are not being implemented is because of A, B, C, and D. If you look at somebody like David, David stepped into a situation where everybody was running away. Nobody wanted to face Goliath. It was status quo for 40 days and 40 nights. But David comes as a small boy, ill-equipped for the moment. But then when he hears the enemy, Goliath, the Philistine, shouting at the ranks of the armies of the living God, what does he do? He says, I will go. Now, he does it this against the background of ridicule, discouragement, and he was so despised. But then he said, no matter what, I will not hang around when this is going on. He did not trade in what we call bring him. What did he do? He took action. He was a man of initiative. If you look at somebody like Esther, a young girl, she is a Jew. She is living in a pagan, ungodly world. And what happens? Haman is doing bad things around that space. And upon being urged by her uncle, that is Mordecai, she says, I will not blame, because she had a lot of things to blame. Uncle, why are you pushing me into this? Uncle, Haman is not a good guy. You cannot fight him. But what did she do? She pressed her feet into the trench, so to speak. Instead of saying it's your fault, it is your problem, it's none of my problem. Instead of saying it's your fault, what did she do? She stepped into it. Blame game is when we do not want to venture into the exercise. It's when we refuse to answer God's call into our lives. A lot of people would heap a lot of blame and say, I am not doing it, or this has been caused because of so and so. Heaping blame, engaging in a blame game does not actually help us to change. It actually encourages us to maintain status quo. Number two, the reason why most people refuse to change is because of lack of competence. Now, the ability to initiate change. You may have the desire to initiate change, but when you lack the capacity, when you lack the power, the mechanism, then, or when you feel you are not unable to process that change, then one of the things that we are going to do is that you're going to shy away from change. Now, assume you want to move from Kenya to another country, maybe a first world country, and you're coming from an emerging economy. And so they tell you that the life there is completely different from where you're coming from. Now, when you feel inside you that you do not have the capacity to manage that change, when you feel inside you cannot be able to handle that change, then most of what people do is that they resist change. Have you not noticed of late that a lot of people are shying away from marriage because they feel that they cannot be able to handle the challenges? They feel they do not have the skills, they do not have the knowledge, they do not have the know-how on managing or running around like a married person, and so they shy away from taking that step. It is very important that every time when you want to initiate change, when you want to launch change, that you get yourself oriented on how things run around, so that you're able to know once you move from step A, you can go to step B, you can go to step C, you can go to step D, and even understand why it is very important to follow those steps. Okay, that gives you competence. Reason number 3 is because of lack of awareness. A lack of awareness is when people are not in the know. When people do not understand several things, when they do not understand why the change is being made. The motive, the drive behind the change needs to be very clear and needs to be understood by everybody. Why is it that you want to change it from policy A and switch to policy B? Why is it that you're moving our headquarters from point A to point B? The answers to the question why needs to be clear, they need to be compelling, and they need to be communicated as early as possible. And it is very important that everybody is on the same page on why the change is being made. Otherwise, if this is not communicated, you can take this to the bank, people would basically resist this change. Okay, now again, people need to be informed quite early. They need to be aware how the change will impact them. Will it impact them negatively? will it impact them positively? Very, very important. And especially when the change will affect them negatively, then you also need to understand why should they be affected negatively? Is the company going to maybe help them to recover from that shock? Now, assume for whatever reason that a company wants to wind up. Now, the question that lingers in everybody's mind is, how will they survive after that? How will that affect them negatively? And how is the company going to use to help them to recover from the shock? If you remember when the last regime, when they were introducing SGR, there was a lot of court battles. In and out, one after the other. Everybody was going to the court because they were saying, when you introduce SGR, what is going to happen to the bus? You are killing you're killing the roads. Well, and it had to do a lot of lobbying. The president by then had to do a lot of lobbying, trying to convince everyone that SGR is a better idea, is a good idea. It is not going to hurt your business. Actually, it's going to boost your business. And this means putting facts, putting data on the wall so that people can be able to read and understand. It is very important that you make people to understand how that change will affect them positively or negatively. As a man, as a lady, when you're moving out of the country and you have children, young children, you need really to explain. Now that your move will affect them negatively, but is it for their good? And how long will they continue suffering in that situation? Very, very important. And number 4 is that people refuse change is because of losing authority and control. And actually, this is why Sanballat was fighting tooth and nail against Nehemiah from building the wall. And when changes come, it means several things. It means somebody is losing his status, is losing his position, is losing his autonomy, is losing his income. And while somebody else on the other end of the rope is actually gaining all those things. So the ruler would not always be happy, will not welcome change, will not say, "Come, baby, come." No, he will give a spirited fight. And as we said, Sanballat knew. Now, with the rebuilding of the walls, it meant that his area of ruling, that is his jurisdiction, would be small, would be lower. His area of influence will become smaller. And so this was not something that he was willing to do. No wonder he insulted, he intimidated, he planned attacks, he planned all manner of things to try and oppose the rebuilding of the wall. And so it is very important for a leader to ask himself, as we are going to see later, who will be affected by this change? And how can we help them? And how can we mitigate them once they go up in arms? Number 5, a lot of people will refuse change because the rewards are not very clear. Now, we need to understand, very important, that people are basically selfish. Have you not noticed that when you take a group photo, the first person that you look for is the person you find in the mirror? It's you. We are basically very selfish. And so the crafters of any change, the crafters of manifestos, the crafters of any campaign material, once you want to introduce change, you must craft it in a language that people will feel we are here to benefit. Otherwise, if there is nothing that they are going to benefit, take this to the bank, they are going to oppose it. Okay? Robert Turner says that when we are unable to align the reward system and when they are not tangible, there will be stiff opposition. And a clear, a good, and effective change agent will basically respond and answer the question, what will I gain from this change, very clearly in a very simple way. And once you are able to put in the benefits in a tangible way, and when the rewards are tangible and they are very clear, when the motivation of the team will basically go up. They will say, let's do this. And this is what Nehemiah was good at. He was able to tell the people in chapter 2 verse 17 that when you can see the trouble we are in, Jerusalem is in a pile of ruins, the gate has been burned. Come, let us rebuild the wall so we won't be full of shame any longer. In other words, he appealed to their emotional pride. He appealed to their ego. He said, once we rebuild these things, we will feel good about ourselves. We will no longer look small. We will be as important as God wants us to be. God is going to elevate our status. With the walls broken down, our dignity is down. People look at us down. People despise us. But once the walls are complete, then our dignity, our honor, our respect, people will respect us and love us, and they will come to worship us. They will look at us as superpower. Very, very important. Number 6, reason number 6, the reason why people refuse to change is because failure to identify the resistance. Okay, it is very important that we understand that that as you introduce change, people will basically going to resist change, and you need to identify the kind of people that are likely to accept it, to refuse the change. In every organization, there are people who will embrace change, but again, there are also others that will give a spirited fight against change. And so one of the things that you need to do, you can either choose to ignore the advice of the critics and move on, or you can incorporate the suggestion that they are giving you that maybe have been left out, and you incorporate them, you integrate them and move with them. Or you can even sometimes you can even go to and involve the opposition, those that are opposing you, because for them they have invariable insight. And if you woo them well, and if you're able to bring them well, and if they have the goodwill, that they are not necessarily resisting change for the sake of resisting change, you can take this to the bank that they will support you, because they can be able to see the other side of the coin that you are not able to see. Now, number 7, the reason number 7 why people refuse change is because we're changing without preparation. Every change agent must know this, that it is very, very important to change with preparation. You don't need to wake up one day and make a surprise announcement that you're moving from this headquarters to point B. No, you need to shy away from making and crafting changes in secrecy. Sometimes we always say it's very important to do what we call intentional leakage. Sometimes you allow people to know what is it that is moving on. Otherwise, you do not want to show up in a board meeting one day and tell people that we are moving our headquarters from point A to point B. You will expect a lot of resistance. It is very important for you to allow some leakages. Maybe you want to change the CEO. Maybe you want to change, the auditor, the person who is doing the auditing. Now, there needs to be intentional leakages so that people get prepared. People are ready to embrace that change, such that once you come and make the announcement, people are already, psychologically prepared to embrace that change. You see, it goes like a story that a while ago I read of somebody who left a cat with his brother and went and stayed for quite a long time. He really loved the cat. Then the brother came back home, and upon arriving and upon exchanging pleasantries, he asked his brother, "Where is my cat?" And the brother said, "The cat died." And the brother was taken aback, and he cried and ranted all over the place. And he really complained to his brother. He said, "Why have you told me news in such a bad way?" And the young brother was like, "How should I have told you? You should have said something like this. 1 year ago, the cat climbed up into the roof. Okay? And then I should have asked you what then happened. And then the cat was praying on the roof with the lizards. He was chasing the lizards on the roof." And then the brother was like, "Okay, and then what?" And then the brother who had lost the cat said, "Then you should have told me accidentally the cat fell from the ground." Okay, then he said, "Okay, what else should I have told you?" "Then you should have told me I took the cat to the veterinary to vet for medication." And then he should have said, I'm sorry, the cat died in the hands of veterinary. Then the brother said, okay, now I've learned. Then the brother who had come from abroad asked, where is my grandmother? After a long pause, the brother said, she is on the roof praying with the lizards. That's how we are supposed to introduce change. Okay, of course the grandmother have died, so he was following the cue. Now listen, number 8. Now employing ineffective ways of implementing change. Now there is a very important article, understanding why people resist change, and one of the things why ineffective ways of introducing change, number 1 is downplaying resistance. It is very, very important to expect the change to be resisted. Okay, don't move with the change expecting that there will be no resistance, that everybody will come and say, hallelujah, this is what you've been waiting for. No. Number 2, when you fail to listen to the concerns that are raised by those that will be impacted by change, it is very important to develop a listening ear. Okay, and you need to listen and don't go with a one size fits all. No, be willing to customize, be willing to change, be willing to adapt. And then number 3, another ineffective ways is what we call poor communication strategies. Poor communication strategy is that it is inconsistent, it is incorrect. You know, there is always the whole issue of bad timing. There is dishonesty. You know, you need to change. You need to channel the information clearly, consistently, clearly, in a persuasive manner, so that everybody is able to know what is going on. This is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say, inawezekana. If this is your first time being here, we encourage you to hit the subscribe button so that every time when YouTube uploads a new video, YouTube will be able to notify you. Remember, we are running 10 reasons why most people refuse change. Okay, very, very important. So let's continue with the discussion. Reason number 9 is connection to the past. People love where they are, and people are so attached to where they are that they basically don't want to leave. And this actually comes handy for those people who implement transfers. Well, every time when you are implementing transfers, kindly understand that people are used to that lifestyle. They are used to the people, they're used to the office, they're used to the routine, they're used to the weather. And so when you tell them to move from point A to point B, what you expect is that people will actually fight you. People don't want to change their routines, they don't want to change their trends, they don't want to change their mannerism, they don't want to change their attitude, they don't want to change their network, they do not want to change the shop, the barber, the hairdresser, the salon. You know, they don't want to change this, and the neighborhood. And so it makes them feel worried and tense, because they do not know what will happen in the next world where you're sending them. Okay, and maybe that's why a lot of people are unwilling to get saved, especially in old age, because they don't understand how will it be. When you're a bit young, it's okay, change is welcome, but as you grow old, you know, you don't want to change, you want to remain as you are, you know, forever and ever. Amen. Okay, and then finally, number 10, reason number 10 is because of what we call excess uncertainty. Excess uncertainty. There is a must-read article by the name of 10 Reasons People Resist Change by Elizabeth M. Cantor, and she says a lot of people are actually full of uncertainty. They really, even when you explain what the impact that it will have on them, whether it is positive or negative, people are still uncertain. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of phobia. You know, for them, they feel like they are walking over the cliff while they are blindfolded. They can't see how deep the cliff is. They cannot be able to see the end of the cliff, to see whether it is full of water or it is full of rocks. Okay, or they are crocodiles that are waiting for them to be able to fight them. Okay, this is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say inawezekana. There are other reasons, and you can follow us. There is the peer pressure. When everybody is there, doesn't want to change, there is a whole issue of lack of trust. Lack of trust, when mistrust, when there is trust deficit. Of course, you don't expect people to dive into or buy into the change. And then we also talk about what? We also talk about presence of personal problems. Maybe you are incompetent, you are insecure, you are immature, or maybe because there is a lot of exhaustion within the organization. Now, these are and many other reasons that can be able to make people to fail to change. Now Steve Denning, in Forbes contributor, said, how do you change an organization culture? And then he said that you need to have 3 important tools. Okay, because once you understand these 3 important tools, then you're going to implement change very effectively. You need information, you need inspiration, and intimidation. Information is very critical because it answers the question why and what is changing, and people need to be informed. Okay, then people need to be, and this will actually calm their fears. Okay, and people need to have inspiration. Inspiration has to do with encourage them to stand up, encourage them and to buy in. It helps them to dive in and say this is very important. Now, intimidation is important, and some of you might say, hey, intimidation, yes, it needs to be there, because those who oppose change need to understand, should they oppose change, these are the repercussions that are going to come to them. This is Marketplace Media, and thank you so much for watching, and we pray that if this broadcast has been a blessing to you, please give this video thumbs up. Remember, this is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say inawezekana. Let's keep sharing and liking and commenting, and until next